Hip politics, baby.
Welcome, 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 welcome. We are back, Hip Politics family. I got another great interview, great conversation today. It's your boy Cameron Trimble, aka Mr. Hip Politics, aka Mr. H, aka Cam the Connector, but better known in these streets as Killer Cam. No, I'm just kidding. Just welcome back to all the listeners. Thank you for the journey. We are back with season 3, Hip Politics Podcast. Like I said, another great interview. This is somebody DM'd me when I said what my favorite show on TV was during the pandemic, and was like, you should have these two on. One of those two, to that follower, are right here on the show today. So I can't wait to jump into this great interview. Oh, well, I won't even call it an interview. It's just a conversation. It's a conversation. Hip Politics family, welcome to the podcast, the one and only Miss Gail Bean.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Right. The one and only.
The one and only. You may know her from so many accolades. She's been an acclaimed TV actress, writer.
I consider myself an activist, too.
An activist, I would say. She's definitely speaking up and using her voice and her platform for so much more. And you may know her from several TV shows and movies, but she has that special thing that a lot of folks in the TV and movie industry, when you have a back-to-back hit shows, and not just, I was in the background or you saw me on one episode, but are a series regular on two of the biggest shows on TV, Snowfall, until it just ended, but Snowfall and P-Valley. Yes. But you've been on Insecure, Paradise Lost, had a really breakout role in the movie Unexpected. And then now we've got her here. Oh, yes. And you're originally from Stone Mountain, Georgia, correct?
Yes, I am. I'm from Stone Mountain, A-Town down.
A-Town down. But we got her out here in D.C. because what sparked this opportunity and what sparked this conversation when we saw her, she was with Congresswoman Cindy Calmager-Dove of L.A. on a panel for Congressional Black Caucus Foundation's annual legislative conference in 2023, and decided to use her voice and her platform to speak up as the panel was around pioneering women reshaping the music and TV and movie industry. Yes. And got to see her, gave some really powerful words, and then seen her around. And then she decided, you know what, I need to go holler at Cam and holler at the Hip Politics family. So thank you for joining the pod today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
And welcome to DC.
Oh, I love DC.
You love DC?
I love DC.
This is your first time here?
This is my second CBC. I came to Congressional Black Caucus 2022. And I'm not sure if that was his first time back since the pandemic.
Yeah,
last
year.
Okay, So it was really big. It's really big every year. But I came here for the first time as an adult, like first time in Washington, D.C. as an adult in 2022 for the Congressional Black Caucus. And I spoke on Hakeem Jeffries' panel. And then it was just like, okay, I have to go back this year. And I didn't know how it was going to happen because we're on strike. Obviously, Stars couldn't bring me out, but somebody else reached out. And it wasn't with Stars. It was through Congresswoman Cindy Calmager-Dove. I was very grateful for that. Everybody knows I'm from Atlanta. I lived in L.A. for 8 years, so I've seen it. It's getting better. But happy to know that she's a part of the progress, and I thoroughly support everything she's doing.
She's a big fan of the pod. I'm a big fan of hers and her fashion. And I'm also, not just her voice and activism, but her fashion game. She's one of the top people in Congress. I always compliment her. If you saw her, it was like a fashion show this week. Yeah. And then she was like, she always is leading, super powerful woman. I'm glad you actually, because you could have been on anybody's panel. You could have been on a lot, but you were on the right one. But you're here for what we like to affectionately call CBC Week.
Yes.
Did you hit any outside of your panel? Before we get into the parties, because everybody, I think all the social media just sees the brunches, the breakfasts, the parties, the after parties, but there's actually a real conference, a real legislative conference that is going on around real issues and policy. I like to call it, it's like Black Political All-Star Week, where politicians, activists, organizational leaders, and companies align around Black political issues, around not just in D.C., but around the country here, and brings out tens of thousands of people. But did you get a chance to stop in see any other impactful conversations? Or
I did.
Impactful panels?
Certainly did. There was a panel on gun violence. It was Raphael Warnock, Lucy McBath, Quavo, and Greg
Jackson. That's my boy. He's out here in D.C.
With Community Justice. Yes. I saw the panel. It was powerful. It was so amazing. And me and my best friend, JFK, when we were younger, we decided, I'll never forget, we were sitting in a church at a funeral And we were like, we're not doing this anymore. Everybody knows I don't go to funerals anymore. I haven't gone to funerals for years because we lost so many people at such a young age growing up. And we were still in high school. So by the time we got older, I was just exhausted from people, gun violence, different deaths, but majority gun violence. And I was like, I'm not doing this no more. Last year, 2022, I went to a funeral for Trouble. He's a rapper. He was a rapper in Atlanta. And I was there for Trouble, but also to support my brother because he was my brother's best friend. And it was just, he's an activist in Atlanta. He actually got me more into politics. This guy named Scotty Gordon, because he's so in it, and like really doing the research, putting out, making sure, holding people accountable, calling people out, but not in a negative way of calling out, but just, where's your accountability? If this is what you say you're gonna do, or what are your thoughts on this? Because if you want us to vote for you and it's not, he tells everybody, I'm voting for who is best. It's not a thing about putting the parties against each other, because there are some Democrats who may push a bill and then the Democrats don't help pass it through. And you may have some Republicans who help push you through. It's so many instances. Who is the right person for the job? I'm not a person that's, vote this party. I'm a Democrat. Let's just be clear. But when I came and I sat on that panel, it was because it meant something to me. So I go to panels to hear what people say, but I go to panels that mean something to me. So we also went to the Georgia Affordable Housing panel. Ronnie DeVoe,
BBD, New Edition fame, because he's transitioned. He's really big into real estate. He's really big in real estate, also real estate rights, real estate collectors. Yeah, I've seen that.
It wasn't actually at the convention, but I think it was still a part of CBC. I'm not really sure how that works.
So there's the official, the way folks, we did actually a breakdown of what CBC Week is. But there's the official stuff that's happened in the convention center. Those are usually all tied to a member of the Congressional Black Caucus. Or some different organizations and companies will also do breakouts. But there's only a limited amount of space and time. And now that this is CBC Week, is like essentially anywhere you can get space for a conversation, the same way anywhere you can get a space for a reception and a party and so forth, like that, panel conversations, fireside chats, because there's just so much energy here and there's so many different issues to cover. It's all official or unofficial. It's all officially CBC.
Okay. So many people have reached out like, what's CBC? Someone literally just texted me and was like, that's something British. I was like, no, I'll respond to them later. But I didn't know what CBC was before I came. Obviously, I knew there were Black members of Congress, but I didn't know that there was a gathering. And when I came last year, I said, okay, this was so beautiful and it was so encouraging and inspiring, because it lets me know that progress is happening. And there are people who do actually care about change and who do actually see you. Now, not everybody is on the ground and in touch, but the purpose of, we need to bridge the gap to where more people show up to CBC like it's a spring break.
Yeah, I think some of the point and the reason why a person like yourself or having a Quavo is like, it's that kind of got to put the medicine in the candy type of thing. Like especially with social, especially with so many more platforms in the media landscape, with us consuming so much more content, movies, TVs, music, pods, YouTube, social, TikToks, there's more stars and there's more, that's where we've almost been trained to get all of our information, or at least pay attention to those celebrities, those entertainers. So we need folks like yourself to be there just to get that average and casual person who, you know what, I don't feel like looking at a live stream about gun violence, or I don't feel like having this conversation about affordable housing. But once they get it and they realize what's there, what resources are there, what the issues actually are, who are the people actually standing up and fighting for it, how do they tap in, how does it affecting them? You all are great megaphones for substantive conversation and real policy that's affecting all of us, but definitely affecting Black folks. And so I think that is the fact of you being on, like I said, on the panels you were at, or even just also, we also know we love a good party. We love sort of good entertainment. Having you all in the mix with rubbing shoulders with members of Congress, secretaries, really staff, other influencers. Now is getting the entertainment weeklies and the shade rooms to cover this. And now a person is, what's CBC Week? Jason Alexander at Hollywood Unlocked, and like how he's been covering more politics and stuff, and has been a great guy who at least opened up his platform that was totally on one thing, but it's, hey, let me pay attention to what's going on in politics. What's at least when that entertainment, that glitz and glam of LA, Atlanta mixes with politics. And this is both national, local, national, and global politics here in the nation's capital. I think you being a part of this, and then even being on a platform like this, but being so many different places, not just on the panels, but also at the parties, also doing quick interviews and things of that nature. Somebody who now was tapped in with you is, let me look up what CBC, oh, the Congressional Black Caucus. Oh, there's a history of black members that have been doing this for decades. Oh, and there's a gathering, and I could learn something, and I might have some fun, and I could probably meet somebody. Yeah. Like all the things, you can do all the things this week. And meet somebody in a business sense, meet somebody you might be able to click up and start a new movement, meet new friends.
It's resources. Yeah. It's networking. It's resources. It's also an expansion of the mind, because sometimes you can talk to someone and they can put something on your mind that you didn't really think about. Whereas, they can give you a new perspective when it comes to stuff. While I was here, this was the first time so many times we're like, I don't want to vote for this black person or this Democrat or this person because what are they doing for the black people? They only do stuff for other ethnicities. And they don't think about us. While I was here, I'm like, no. So if you have a child, yes, you're the mother to that child. But if you're the principal of all the children at that school. So if someone represents a county, if we're looking at, say, in Atlanta, depending on what your district is, your constituents may not just be all black. So now you address issues that affect everybody. But then don't forget you're black. Don't forget us, because at the end of the day, we're always going to need one another. But I think it was just really eye-opening for me to have a better understanding of they can't just be somebody who runs on, I'm only going to do for black people. You're going to do for black people, and now you definitely need to do for black people, but the and is what, because your constituents are more than just us, unless you're in a county.
Even then, I think, when people, doing for black people does better for everybody.
Oh, yes, I 100% agree.
So and I think there is a role and a place for some folks to hyper-focus on black folks, but they got to be open to the collaboration, got to be open to coalition building.
Correct.
Like none of that is getting done in a vacuum. One thing I'm curious about, this is a question based on what you said, taking it and opening your mind, you said it expanded your mind. How are you, maybe that last year into this year, and maybe what you're going to take from this year moving forward, how does it impact you in terms of maybe future roles or future projects that you even may look to pursue? In the sense of, hey, there might be stories. You're a storyteller. You're creative and a storyteller. Are there stories now that you've been sparked to maybe think about, or topics or things that you may want to think about, or how you incorporate that into your art and how you express your art?
Yes. So you mentioned Felicia Rashad, the great Felicia Rashad. I sat down with her and she asked me about Snowfall and how people receive it. And last year, obviously, I was here under Stars with P-Valley, but so many people are fans of both shows, obviously. But there's so many people who they don't publicly say it, especially when it comes to politics, right? But when it comes to Wanda on Snowfall, there were so many people, politicians included, who are like, that was such a true story that really touched me, or I'm the mayor of this area, and I don't talk about it, but my mom was on crack for this long. This genuinely touched me. So it just really made me say, okay, I have these stories that I'm telling. I already knew they were important, but on a level where it transcends financially, social, economically, across the races. There's people who are, it was also Congressional Hispanic Caucus as well. So I seen some people from there that were like, oh man. So knowing that the stories that I'm telling, I'm on the right path to make sure that I represent black people authentically, because you said if you help black people, you help the world. So that I just want to continue that. I want to continue to tell authentic stories. I want to continue to be able to bridge the gap from our audience viewers who may not be in politics at all, that understanding that I too am interested in, I'm not trying to be a politician. I don't want nobody looking that deep into my life, but bridging the gap to support where I can and to also help spread the awareness in the world on issues that matter to myself and to others.
You touched on, in terms of something, one of the roles that, like I said, on my favorite show, definitely in the last several years, Snowfall, playing Wanda Bell, in the portrayal of the depth, the humanity, the inner and external conflict of that character. I'll be honest, I didn't like you for the first two seasons, and then You probably became my favorite character by the last one. I wish y'all stayed in Africa, but but the depth of that character. I do have a question. Like, where did you pull from? I've heard a little bit about your background that you've shared before in terms of where you were when you were younger in Georgia and so forth. But where did you pull from for that? Because like I said, your arc over those seasons in terms of falling into addiction, what led to that, falling out, and then I really think like going back in those last couple of years of needing to go to Africa, really needing to give back to the community, all the different relationships and how that dynamic and how you were able to showcase that, the humility that it took. You just believed you.
Thank you.
Like, I'm glad I didn't call you Wanda when I've seen you. Because, like I said, the depth of that character, where did you pull from to be able to portray that such a range?
So I use both my current life. I'm not on drugs, but I use who I am as a person. I always put a little bit of me into every character. So it feels grounded. So when you do see me, there is something that still feels like that character. But then I also, which I feel every community, regardless of race, but especially the Black community, has had an effect of crack cocaine epidemic. I personally know people in my family who were victims of it. So I pulled from them, but then I also pulled from my parents who saw the people that they were before they got on drugs. Because all the addicts in my family, they've always been an addict all my life. When I came into the world, crack was booming, and it had already decimated our society. So I had to pull from what I saw. And then I watched documentaries. This is a particular documentary I watched called J is for Junkie, because I wanted to watch something that wasn't a caricature of our oppression and our pains and the things that we've done and gone through, but something that told it from a realistic and a realistic way, and it humanized us. So that I felt was done so beautifully. Then I also watched another show, Soft White Underbelly, because they do interviews. There was a particular story, a girl named Amanda, they've interviewed her like 3 times, and you saw her decline. I wanted to make sure I told people's truth. And then when I was living in LA, I lived there for about 8 years. I used to go down on Wednesdays with We Feed the Hungry and feed the homeless on Skid Row. And not everybody down there is on drugs. Some people have fallen on hard times. Some people have mental illness issues. Some people, they have a home and they just can't afford to also buy groceries. They got to choose bills, rent, or food. I did that for years and still do it when I go back, for years since I've been out in LA. And I will go every Wednesday and I meet people, make friends, make family relationships. So I pulled from everything I've been through, who I am as a person, my family, my past, what's currently going on in the world.
What did it take for you to unpack? That character? Because I think, like you said, you put a little bit of you in, did a little bit of Wanda come back and get put back into you, coming out of that, and now decompressing now that the show has ended, preparing for other roles. Like, what did it take to get out of that mindset? Or because you were filming P-Valley, you had to do it because you're jumping into Roulette's head? No,
it honestly, I think the hardest part about playing Wanda is watching it back.
Interesting. What do you mean?
Like, her story is so heartbreaking. It's the redemption part is amazing, yes, but it's true. So it's heartbreaking to see that. I already know, just as a Black woman, what we go through, but to see that, I can't imagine. We always look back and stuff and say, we can't imagine living in this time, or I can't imagine living in that time. We go through our trials and our tribulations in current day, but watching back what she went through was really heartbreaking. So for me, that was the hardest part of knowing this is somebody's story. I meet people every single day. It's not a day I have not met someone who said, oh, my mama, or I was, or I knew a Wanda.
And they all didn't get, I think when you say it was heartbreaking, I think not knowing, at least for me, I could see it be heartbreaking if I hadn't watched the entire show and knowing that there's redemption coming and all the great things she does. But in real life, most people, well, not I won't say most, but a lot of people don't get redeemed. True. They stop at the heartbreak. They stop at the decline. So I could see how watching that could be hard, especially seeing yourself and maybe those emotions and what you're feeling there. I definitely think there's, whether you decide to get into it now more or later, but there's so many social activism organizations, local and nationally, around obviously getting folks off of drugs or getting being able to help people rebuild their life. And I think for you to play, like I said, one of those seminal characters that was in the redemption arc there, I'm like, man, I think about those last 2 seasons, like how do we, there are probably a lot of Wandas out here who are redeemed, who are now working at community centers and places like that. And if I can ever be helpful making that connection, because I think you'd be such a powerful voice to like bring them more.
I never thought about that.
The thing that the other thing when talking about CVC and understanding why it's important to have why we bring entertainers down is that CBC will be all right. Like if they're government funded, it's the government. But so many of our community organizations are underfunded. They're hoping to get grants. There's a lot of grant money out there, but this year, and I can tell you as a person who had to do some fundraising for some of these different receptions and so forth, with the stock market and everything else, inflation, a lot of funding has dried up, and that affects the trickle-down effect to that in terms of people who provide like community services and goods outside of the purview of the government, those private organizations, like having these galas, having celebs and influencers attached to it, help bring both individual people in who hopefully can give money, but also help bring eyes that other corporations and other people can fund some of these groups. So I think that'd be a powerful opportunity wherever you decide to do it, Georgia, LA, community centers like that.
Because, which is crazy, for having played on a show that went 6 seasons, I was there for 5, that never even crossed my mind. I have 17 nieces and nephews, so the first thing that's always on my brain is youth. My nonprofit is Dream Above the Influence, and it's focused on the youth, mentoring, resources, exposure, expansion of opportunities. So that makes sense. But this is what I mean when I say being at CBC, you have these conversations where they spark the mind of something great, right? Like that, I could go and kill that. And really, it will be really helpful for them to see a character like Wanda, but to meet a Wanda in real life. I know what it means when people who are even third party connected to someone who, I know what it means and what I've seen for people who have had the redemption story firsthand. But then, like you said, there are some people who, they don't make it. So making sure that I can reach the people who are there, trying to stay the course, trying to live a redemption story.
I'm glad I sparked that because, like I said, I think you'll do well. To your point, you already talk to me a little bit more about your foundation or your
Dream Above the Influence.
Dream Above the Influence.
Yes.
What are some of the worker programs that you guys are working on?
So we recently did My Love Scholarship. I'm a Delta. So we gave 22, it's an annual scholarship, but this was the first year. We gave 22 students each a scholarship in the amount of $1,913.
Yeah, I see that. For our listeners, that's the Delta Sigma Theta sorority was founded at Howard University in 1913. So I like that association.
It was. And
these are college scholarships?
These are college scholarships. So It's high school students that are graduating and they started college this past August. Yeah.
Okay.
Our next project.
Were you number 22? What's the significance of 22?
We had 22 founders.
Oh. Sorry, please. I need to retain all my Delta.
Yes, come on now.
My Delta, that Howard Deltas and Alpha Jump Deltas definitely support the boy. So sorry.
It's okay. You're wearing red and white, so we're for it. But we're currently working on Project 404, which we're going to provide 404 families with winter essentials, just because coats, socks, shoes, sweaters. And then we want to try to give each child $100. That way we can promote saving and understanding the dollar, financial literacy, but then we can also give a financial relief to the parents who have to buy these things for the kids. When we do help, our focus is the youth, but we are focusing on the youth. That way it can help the whole community and the family. We got a few things in the works that I'm really excited about. I was talking to Congresswoman Nakima Williams and telling her that I wanted to, in the future, provide 8 students with a study abroad scholarship, because everything that I do has been in my life from some way, right? Mm-hmm. And when I was in college, my best friend, JFK, studied abroad in Amsterdam. Was it Amsterdam or Egypt?
JFK is off mic, so we can just check in with the source. Is that Amsterdam? Yes.
Yes, she studied abroad in Amsterdam one summer, and she sent me a postcard back and just telling me how it'll change your life. It's so different. Like you have to study abroad. And that sparked me. I just couldn't believe it. I never went out the country before. So then I went to study abroad the following summer.
Where'd you go?
I went to Germany, Karlsruhe University. So I have a accounting major. I have an accounting degree.
Oh yeah. I wondered. I'm curious that transition. That was one of my questions, but
Oh, we'll
interesting.
talk about that. We'll get into that.
But so you were in Germany, and that study abroad. The first time anybody goes abroad, I think it always wow. It lets you know how big it's life changing. You realize how much bigger it is than just what's on TV, what's in your immediate vicinity.
So to imagine like getting that opportunity at such a young age, right? Because there are so many people who they don't go study abroad until they're like a grown adult. And it's great, it's amazing. But imagine having that opportunity when you're a little younger. And a lot of people, it's not that they can't do it because of their grades, they can't afford it. So we're working on trying to have that up and fully funded in the next few years. And then
we could do. I feel like we can. You got the juice to get that done in the next year.
Oh, okay. I received that.
You got to speak that.
It's only 8 scholarships.
Exactly.
And it's 8 because my line number is 8.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So looking to do that. And then we have She Has a Dream Too, She Has a Dream Too, which is a pun off of Okay, I Have a Dream. So just bringing in more execs like Latasha Gillespie, like Terry Hines from Fox, bringing in more people who are executive roles so they can start to learn and understand, because not everybody is going to be an entrepreneur, right? So how do we make sure that we provide the resources and the things that we need, that the youth need to become execs at that level? Because if they get into the executive levels, just if they get into Congress, then that trickles down for everybody. So
having that representation in those C-suites and the support, and not just the one or the two, having the many, definitely impacts me. I'm living proof of I had to see all of this. Like, I'm from the Midwest. A lot of my listeners always know, like, I'm from the Midwest. My dad was a pastor. My mom was a community organizer. And luckily, I was in a few things that got me to see it, but I didn't even know. When I was applying for college, I was like, you can only be like 4 things. I was like, you can be an engineer, a lawyer, a doctor, or a business person, or a teacher. And I was like, why would you go to college to be a teacher? It's a lot of money. So I thought about those 4 things because I did want to make some money and have something. But I was like, I don't know, kind of business means is some amorphous term and that. So seeing those executives, I think, especially exposing them, not just when they're in college, but definitely when they're in middle school, high school. So when they're starting to understand what people can do. But then even that exposure, I think is important. So what is She Has a Dream Too?
She Has a Dream Too.
She Has a Dream Too.
Because you got to think, like you just named, all those people, lawyer, doctor, teacher, police, we see that at such a young age so much in the career day. Career day. But we don't even know that there are jobs that exist, like a patent attorney. We don't know that as a child. We don't even understand. But if you start to introduce, now non-black people know that. But I think that is the thing. We have to make sure that we expose our youth to more so they know, and they don't get to college and their junior year they hate their major, so then they switch. Or they graduated with a degree and all these loans that they could never pay back. They don't even work in that major. Or they don't even apply the knowledge, they don't even apply the knowledge that they have or know how to apply it.
Mm-hmm. Needless to say, this has been an impactful week.
Yes.
Mind expansion. Gonna go back there.
Mind expansion.
You briefly mentioned you started your career off. How did you go from hard numbers of accounting to creative and acting and writing?
I love math. Like, I just do. I love numbers. However, I thought I was going to be a lawyer. It was when I graduated, I said I could go to law school. And I used to tell people I was going to be the next Johnny Cochran, the female Johnny Cochran. Okay. I was either going to go to law school or I was going to move to LA and go act. And it was just
Hold up, that's very different. That's a different spread. You just, those two were in your soul?
Just those two. Or Dallas Cowboys cheerleader, but.
I didn't expect that.
Yeah, I love cheer too.
But why Dallas? Oh, because they're America's team or something?
I think as a cheerleader, that's like the cheerleader.
That's the pinnacle?
That's the pinnacle.
Dallas Cowboys, yeah.
Yeah, that's all you know. So I felt like law was going to be easy. And I didn't feel that law, even though it's not. But I felt like for me, it was going to be easy. And I knew acting would be more challenging, and no matter what grades I got or what research I got, I knew the only way I would be successful in acting is if I was truly just favored from God and the ancestors. That is all. Because you could be the best person out there and still not get the part. You can know every line, hit every mark, and people still, they're not receptive to your characters or your storylines or just your acting. I wanted to be a little more challenged.
Interesting. What was that challenge? What was the first thing that happened? Because usually when you see actors transition from different careers that have nothing to do with the entertainment business. What was that first thing that sparked that first yes? Maybe it was a no, but an ultimate no, but you got that first audition or that first person who encouraged you. What did you latch on to? Because I know behind the scenes it is a lot of struggle, a lot of hard work, a lot of preparation. People do just not show up, be pretty, and be on set, like having worked in production and so forth. But a lot of people might think that, but and you weren't all of a sudden just I'm on award-winning TV shows out the gate, and you're transitioning from accounting and math. You had to have. Did you hold on to something? What was that first, or maybe first series of things, or just that first role or first opportunity, big or small, that gave you that inner spark to know, yo, this fire is lit, and I just now need to put oxygen on it to let it grow?
So there's two. There's a yes and then there's a no, right?
Okay.
When I was at college, I went to one of the advisors and I said, I want to act. And she told me, no, just keep it as a hobby. She had connections with the studios, the people, because I'm not a theater major. Like I said, I'm an accounting major. I have an accounting degree. She was like, no, just keep it as a hobby. And you could do like local community theater. For me, a no is just an early yes.
A no is an early yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we need to tweet that. A no is an early yes. I like that.
I said, okay, thank you. I never take offense when I get a no. It's like, it's not personal. Okay, thank you. I use it to motivate me. My yes was after we shot Unexpected. Oh, no, I'm going to take it back even further. Professor Abner brought John Singleton to our class in 2012.
What class is this?
AOA, Alchemy of Acting. So now she's at Howard. So AOA is no longer around. But when she was teaching in Atlanta, she brought John Singleton to our class. And she also said 1% of people who chase their dreams achieve it. And I just felt, I have moments where I feel like the universe and ancestors and God are just like, this is for you. I'm talking to you. So when John was there, I felt like that was for me.
Did you run up on him then?
I ran up on him. I got a picture with him, for sure. For sure. And
did you hit a scene or
no, I didn't.
hit a monologue real quick?
Nah, I didn't do all that.
No, it's good.
I was like, all right, my moment gonna come. And it did come full circle. And it came when I got the audition for Snowfall. And I was like, this is it. There's been so many moments where I feel like along the way, it's my yes that keeps me going. Because you have a moment and then everything from there could start to put the fire out. So I'm grateful that I've had multiple moments where it's like that happened in 2012. And then I booked Unexpected. We shot that in 2015 and went to Sundance. I was named Next Generation Breakout Actors from the Hollywood Reporter. So I said, okay, I'm the only black person on there. Thank you. Only black person on there. I said, okay, it's okay to be the first. I don't want to be the last. It's okay to be the only. I don't want to be the last. So then I was like, okay, that was another yes, though. So there keeps being things that are like further ignite me.
Oh, interesting. And then was it an immediate, all right, I'm done with accounting, like I quit my job, put my 2 weeks in?
No, I do my own taxes. I don't do them anymore. Now we're on another bracket.
Okay. There's nothing wrong with hiring some help.
Yes. So I used it because I said, okay, I'm going to run my own production company. In the beginning, when you start, you accrue one. So I used my accounting degree to help myself, to help even my family, their taxes and everything. But I still use it now. Like I have an investment property. I have a home ownership. So I use that when it comes to knowing the tax laws, which change all the time. But I just use it to know how to make smarter decisions. And I also use it to know that I'm not going to know everything because things do continue to change. It didn't go to waste. I still ain't got my debt forgiven, though.
I can't do nothing about that.
But if somebody watching this can.
If somebody watching this can, a bunch of us need that. I need it too.
Okay.
Something you touched on there, and as an actress, as a black woman, as a leader, and a person using her voice and her platform to elevate, something that I've seen recently in interviews in the news. We're, at the time of this recording, we're still in the strike. Actors and writers in Hollywood. The Writers Guild of America and WGA and SAG-AFTRA, Screen Actors Guild, are currently on a strike to demand, amongst many things, definitely more inclusion, wages as we get into this world of generative AI and all the issues around there. There's a ton of issues that have been highly well reported. But something that I've seen you speak up on more than one occasion is the pay gap between men and women. But even more, the pay gap for African American women, amongst other men and just amongst everybody in the industry. What you mentioned, some of the things that could be coming down the road if actors and writers in the industry really doesn't come together around the rules of the road now during this strike and really be impactful with what you're trying to get on the strike. Talk to me about what sparked the need to speak up about and really highlight that pay gap, and like I said, even more specifically, the pay gap for African American women actresses.
So for me,
and talk a little bit, I would say, about that issue like that as well.
okay. So for me, as a black woman, I've experienced pay disparity across multiple jobs, not just acting. So I've seen it on a number of levels, right? And it's always been something that how do we make a living? How can our mental be okay with this? Because pay doesn't just affect our pockets. It's a trickle down effect. And so I felt it was important to speak on that issue, not necessarily from an actor standpoint, but just from a black woman, because I've seen it and I've talked to my peers, and I know they're truly affected by it. And if we don't speak up, then we just continue to be on this wheel. So I think the time is now, because we have 3 unions on strike right now. 3,
because we got the United Auto Workers striking up there in Michigan as well, yeah.
And actors and writers haven't been on strike together since the 80s, I think.
I think it's all further back than that. I'll double check that. I'm almost thinking it might be the 60s. But
okay, check it. It might be the 60s for sure, but last strike, writer strike, I think was 07, 08. But I tell people, look at it like this, right? When you go to the gas pump, gas is 87, 89, 93. That's what it says on there. We haven't had gas that price since God knows when. Gas is like $5 a gallon now. Actors are still being paid 87. When the industry, they're getting like $50 an actor. So if something doesn't change, then the industry is going to self-destruct. And that's I feel is the simplest way to put it. I feel like I needed to speak up because there's so many people who I'm going to give you this example. I worked on Snowfall season 2. I made very little money. And then season 3, I worked on Games People Play, which is a BET show with Lauren London. And at the time, BET was paying me more than FX, which FX had the money. And FX had been using me. I didn't become a series regular. Even though you see me in a bunch of episodes, I didn't become a series regular until season 6, the final season.
Oh, wow. And for folks who don't know about that, there are different classifications of actors which affects your pay scale.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
So even though you see, and with the show being a 10 episode show, so it's not like the old school where you had 22 plus episodes and so forth, back when you hear all the success stories of the Friends and the Seinfelds and the folks who had those long shows.
Old money. There's old money in Hollywood, which is why they're able to afford a lot of these homes and they're not having to rent, and they own because they was working off of that pay scale. But it's evolved so much that, and not for our benefit. So I felt it was good to speak up on it because a lot of people don't know. They look at people, they see you on TV all the time. They think, oh, you're an actor, you're famous, you're rich. I see you on TV all the time. You're an actor, you're famous, you're rich. And that's not the case. We still have to make a living. The scholarships I just told you about, that came out of my pocket because I didn't want to have to wait for the funding. But that's because not everybody can afford to do that. I still live with my mama. So I can do things like that. But It's just, this is something that, like I said, it doesn't just affect us. And I feel like we as black women make so many sacrifices and get paid the least. But yet you want us to come in here and be on 10 episodes of show and want to try to shoot it all in a week and pay us for a day's worth of work.
That's not right.
That's not right.
And to the point earlier, it's been 1960 was the last time.
It was 1960?
So that's how impactful and monumental this moment in history is right now, to have some of the most high profile unions.
Speak on like how we were talking about, like you got series regular, recurring, guest star, day player. What they do, and I feel like what happens to black women so often is our title, right? They deny us our title because with that title comes pay. So that's why, I wasn't a series regular. Because even though in work ethic and work output, I am that person, which you have it happening in every industry. I'm doing more than what my job responsibility is. I'm doing more than what my job title says. But you're not going to give me that job title because then you're going to have to pay me that. So let's keep this person in this place. My own best friend had been working with the company, and now this is real estate development, working with the company, doing her work, also doing two people above her's work. They were leaving the company to see, what was their position? Director or VP. What's that mean?
Director or VP. I think she said director or EVP.
Oh, director, VP. And then what was your role? Associate. So she had an associate title. She was doing her work, also helping and doing the director of VP work. They said, hey, we're getting ready to leave. Go to another company. You should put in for a promotion. Now, she'd already put in for a promotion each year before that. It would go up for review. They would give her some notes. And yeah, not this year. We'll give you a slight bump, but we're not going to change your title, right? An entry associate came in. He was her assistant. He was her intern. Correction. He got promoted above her. So then when those two left and they told her to put in the promotion, they told her everything what to say, she got let go. They laid her off.
Rather than pay her what she was worth.
Rather than pay her what she was worth, they laid her off.
And I think to that point, that it affects so many industries. Your title, because not only is what your title matters while you're there, it's your title. It gives you leverage to be able to negotiate higher salaries and better packages at other companies, because that title means something. That title means something. That pay means something.
And you get to then make. I think what the issue is then you start to go, as you start to get a higher title and go up the ladder, you then become a decision maker. And I think people are afraid of folks becoming decision makers, even if they've earned it. So I think that's why this strike has been insane. That's why we got 3 unions on strike at once. Because I was talking to my therapist about this. I said, I feel like people know I'm valuable, but they don't value me.
Ooh, say that again.
They know I'm valuable, but they don't value me. And then when I start to demand my value, then they make it seem like I'm the problem. Then it's gaslighting. And I don't come in hot demanding my value, like snapping fingers, rolling necks, cussing out. I come in just stating the facts. Very nice, very calmly, but stern.
Direct.
And I think that's the issue why the strike is lasting for so long, why it's getting so ugly. And I think it's so important that we black women talk about it, because we at the bottom. And whenever there's a strike or anything, it's always the ones who are at the bottom who feel it the worst, who feel it first. They're going to start cutting the black shows. A lot of shows have gotten canceled since the strike. A lot of people's first look deals over.
I encourage all of our listeners to really tap in and see what the issue is. This is not just a Hollywood thing. That's, like I said, some of the issues that those writers and actors are fighting for affect so many other industries. And to your point, every actor is, while you may be famous and well known, does not mean you are rich beyond belief or even rich at all. I think some 60-70% of actors are just working class actors that have never had even a 6-figure payday. I really hope it gets resolved in your favor. Like I said, I'm a little biased. I've done some work with both of the guilds before. I did have one question as we come to close. One question, I'll say. We're on the Hip Politics platform. Our tagline is mobilizing the political power of hip-hop. You're as hip-hop as they come. You, hip-hop generation, you're hip-hop, your culture. The characters you play, the authenticity you play them in. When you see how both P-Valley, but definitely how Snowfall is in the culture, is in the music, it's mimicked some of your co-stars. I'm in Joseph, Howard alum, really good brother I've got to know over the last couple of years. Damson Idris is like all up and through hip-hop videos, and I see him kicking it with rappers all the time, but like I said, you're one of the most well-known and impactful characters on that show. But just even, you're also hip-hop in terms of how you're being a disruptor, how you come from the hotbed of hip-hop, the Atlanta area. Question, what do you think this generation, this community, hip-hop community needs to do and can maybe either learn from something that you're learning, that you're hearing, and maybe you got it this week in CBC, you got it in all your travels, got it with your foundation. But I think hip hop is really at 50 is really starting to wake up, or we already were awake, is standing up and really recognize and living in its power to affect change, power to move money, to move people, to move influence, and both to educate and influence. What do you think that, reflecting on it being Hip Hop 50, the hip hop community and the hip hop culture can do to really elevate some more of these same issues, some of the issues maybe you're working on particularly, but some of the issues that you see that are out here?
Are you familiar with the program, the financial literacy program that 21 Savage did?
No.
He had, so...
Yes, I am. When that song Bank Account came out?
Yeah.
Yep, on his second album, yes.
I think
I heard
like
about
that, people love the song, right? But when he did that went crazy. Like when people were talking about when he wasn't wearing the jewelry and people were talking about the financial literacy program he did, I think that is so pivotal. What a lot of people in hip hop are doing. When the murder of George Floyd happened and Lil Baby did the Bigger Picture video, I think tying a lot of social issues in with their content and not just putting it in a song, but actually putting the work behind it, having the nonprofit. Like Quavo was here and he has his Rocket Power Foundation or Rocket Foundation and dealing and addressing the issues of gun violence. I think these things go hand in hand. And I think it's extremely important. But I also feel that if we're good with the lyrics,
The Rap Act, yeah.
With the rap, I think if they could talk to kids and do sit downs and round tables. So actors, we have this thing called Actors on Actors Round Table, and then there's Actors on Actors, and there's Actors Round Table. Yeah, you just seen LeBron has like the shop. I think more of those people would truly tune into, because they do tune into the music. But I like that they're pairing stuff now when it comes to a nonprofit organization or an event or a give back. Because before, of course, we do the back to school give back, the turkey drive. But what I love is that we're expanding the youth mind now of thinking about bank accounts and doing things more where it's, voting. Instead of it just being, just a concert for those that voted, but actually having the conversation and using their voice. For me, that's what I've seen that's been the most beautiful thing to see how, because I feel like earlier on in hip hop, like your LL Cool J's, your Wu-Tang, we see Method Man everywhere, of course. He's definitely an advocate. He was at the Juneteenth celebration. So I love that it's still happening. And it's happening with younger people now, too. That, to me, has been the most beautiful thing that hip-hop is continuing to transform. Because they're like, okay, yes, we're going to make you feel good. Yes, we're going to talk about what's going on. But we're going to talk about what's really going on. Did I answer the question?
You did.
Okay.
Gail?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've been a little bit in awe. You seen the smile, like I told you. Been so drawn to your character, and I've really been tapping into your career, and super excited about other projects and future projects, and even more excited about how you continue to use your voice. Hopefully I'm going to get you on camera to say this is not your last CBC.
This is not my last CBC. I've already said I'll be back to CBC every year.
And maybe bring some of your friends. I think what I hope this illuminated, and maybe you can also be a voice and understanding of, to go back to others in the entertainment community, because sometimes this is stepping out on faith. This is definitely out of some folks' comfort zones. Maybe not the issues you're focused on, but the issue they have projects or have issues that are deeply personal to them, or something that just aligns with their goals and what they want to see changed in the world. But I think they have to see folks that they know and respect in the industry, their peers, be out here, do well. They get press around it. Like, it's actually not that it needs to be a career move, but some folks are like, hey, does this even make sense for my career? Yeah, I think it's an expansion of your platform, a deepening connection to your fans. You can also, I'm pretty sure while you're out here, you met different corporate folks who we get these 8 scholarships funded quickly. So you leverage it and making those connections as well, and bringing your teams out and folks out here. I think when they see you out here and do it well, say, oh, I need to go out there and do that. I need to go out there and do that. Or not just this conference, like I said, there's mayor's conferences, there's legislative conferences, there's so many different things in the political world that getting folks from our generation, but getting entertainers and so forth tapped into more than on a superficial level could really help. Like, in closing, something I like to know. I just want to have a little fun real quick, because I'm curious who, you, like everybody else, you probably make your own playlist. And you make your own playlist. Maybe something to work out to. Maybe something to meditate to. Ride around town in. Motivation. Hang out with my girls. What's the most inspiring song that you've been listening? Not of all time, but a recent inspirational or something that's motivated you, got you pumped up, or a hip hop song. It could be old or new, but just something that when you think about, dang, you look in the mirror, Gail, all right, we about to do this. We about to kill this interview, or I'm about to really knock this audition out of the water, or anything like that, or like, ooh, I'm about to sign this deal, we about to get this money, or any of that. Like, there's usually something's playing on the speaker in the background, something's in your earbuds.
Okay.
What song is that?
Okay, I don't know if this would be considered hip hop. The one that is on my mind that is a hip hop song, I don't know. It's rap, but I don't know. I don't know
What's
if
the
it's
song?
appropriate.
What do you mean? It's the culture. It's all appropriate. This not a. I haven't been cursing, but I've cursed before. This not a.
Okay.
This is all ages and audiences.
Okay, don't crucify me. I feel like everybody
Nobody will.
me for this, but for me, it's motivating because you just hear her when it's Cardi B. Get Up 10.
I love that song.
Oh, okay.
That song goes hard.
Okay.
Cardi B is extremely motivational.
Yes, she is. She is. But for me, I like songs where they talk about overcoming stuff because then it make me feel like, yeah, I can do that. Huh? The song is Knock Me Down 9 times, but I get up 10. So I'm like, yeah.
Cardi B is America's sweetheart.
Oh, okay, perfect.
In many ways.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you should have no shame in professing your love for a Cardi B song.
Okay.
Like, for example, you see me, I'm not in my suit today, but my song of the year that's really been getting me hype would be considered ratchet probably to some, but Key Glock, Paper Out Empire, he has a song called Work on his last album, Glaucoma 2.
I've heard it.
Oh, you know the song?
I like Key Glock.
Key Glock, to me, Glaucoma 2 is my favorite rap album of the year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I'm listening to Killer Mike. I'm listening to Kendrick,
Okay.
but I'm way more listening to the Young Dolls, the Moneybagg Yo's.
Okay, I
The
really
21
like T
Savages.
Grizzly.
Oh,
but
I like T.
Chapter of the Trenches because he's really good with storytelling. If you listen to his music, and then he also talks about all of the things that he's overcome. Like
he went through a lot. Yeah,
he went through a lot from death to jail to family to poverty.
Yeah,
anything where
and his voice and him being Detroit.
Yeah.
That cadence and that Detroit bounce that you get is like super unique in hip hop. So I feel like not many people could even ride a beat the way he does. So
yeah, I'm a huge T Grizzly fan.
Interesting. Okay.
Anything Atlanta is my first choice, but
I gotta go home. No, T Grizzly.
Yeah.
Get Up 10 by Cardi B. All right. You mess with a Key Glock too? Okay.
I do.
All right. See? Talk about shit. I don't know if this is.
I didn't know if it was appropriate.
It is that's the thing. The culture is all it has grown and expanded. I know some people, like, depending on where you are and where you tap in at the culture, there's things you like, there's things you don't, but it's so big and it has so many subgenres, so many artists, so many different things. The tent is so wide. It's all appropriate for somebody. And even some of the music, I'm a fierce defender just around that Rap Act and not being able to have people's art and their lyrics used against them. It's, hey, man, we can't put restrictions on that. Mm-hmm. Now, what we promote, what we publicize, we can have those conversations. But I never will want to go and say, don't rap that, don't put this out, don't put that, because it affects everyone. If that's the case, shut down all movies, shut down all video games, shut down all entertainment, period, and those things. But I just want to say thank you. I think we learned a lot. Got some really nice quotables. Like, I can't wait to see what comes next. Like, I left this conversation even more inspired and more tuned in, and I hope all of our listeners did too. Where can the people find you?
Gail Bean, Gailbean on everything. So Instagram is Gail__Bean. Twitter, I think, is Gail.
I'll put the links. Yeah, I gotta go.
Okay.
I'll put the link. I'll put the links. Even if you're listening, I'll make sure it's in the description of the episode. More importantly, I want to know where people can tap in, say they want to donate or help your foundation. Can you tell
Dream
them?
Above the Influence. We have our website is spelled as proper.
Dream Above
the Influence. So
Got it.
DREAM above AB.
You don't have to spell it
Yes.
out. I will put that link as well.
Thank you.
It's just been a long week, y'all.
Long.
I think we both saw each other at the same reception over the last in dinners and galas, and so,
I've been here since Tuesday.
Yeah,
it's been a long week.
It's been a long week, and thank you. So I really appreciate you. Thank you for making space and time for this conversation. I really think hopefully it inspires and educates a lot more. And thank you again for using your voice, your platform, to elevate these issues and to bring light out here. And thank you for just being a cool ass person. I appreciate you never know how the conversations will go. You never know how people act. And thank you for also being, you're super real, because I know when I ran into you last night at the gala, you were like talking to Congresswoman Williams. And hey, I got this podcast, but I'm checking out. I don't know if I need to know, and I need to check in. And I got validated. Thank you. So shout out to Congresswoman from Atlanta, Nikema Williams, for vouching for me and the Hip Politics family to be able to have our guest on today. So I appreciate that. Yes. But I appreciate you being real. I mean, I got to know who. So thank you. Okay, guys. And I'm glad, I guess I came back glowing. I hope you enjoyed yourself. And to listeners, again, welcome to season 3. We will be back next week with another impactful conversation, enlightening conversation here on the Hip Politics Podcast. But with that, we are out. Peace. And we are done.
Hip politics, baby.